What if you, truly being you, are the gift, the change, and the possibility this world requires? If you were truly being you, what would that change in your life and the world? What if everything you thought was a wrongness of you is actually a strongness of you? If you never judged yourself again, what would change for you personally? How different would your life be? If none of us ever again judged ourselves or each other, how different would our world be? Is that a world you'd like to live in? Would you like to be part of creating it? Is now the time? What if you, truly being you, are the gift, the change, and the possibility this world requires?
Yay!
Well, before we get started, what I would like to let everybody know, because I've been using this video for all these lives, and it is so melty and so inviting, and I just want the people to know that this is the face of the man who created this video that has contributed to so many. So thank you, Bret, for your contribution with that and the gift you are in the world. I'm so grateful to have you here talking with me today.
Yeah, me too. I'm so grateful too. Like that video was amazing, and like it was so fun to create, because like for me, when I put together videos and stuff, I don't have the point of view that it's like that, like, oh yes, I am putting this together. It's like, for me, the video, the project, whatever it is, it's like out there. It's already, it exists as its own thing. And then I just got to ask it questions and be like, kind of perceive the energy when I'm putting stuff together. I'm like, is this what it wants? Is this what it wants? And it puts together itself. And that's one of the videos that put together itself totally.
Well, that's the difference that you be with creation, because I know I've created with you, and I've gotten to watch you just be with whatever shows up, not from a point of view of this is right or this is wrong, but like, wow, how grateful you are to just be there creating with that entity of whatever the thing is. And so that's one thing that I would like to say about you that before we go, is that the space you be in creation and just in being you is like such a gift to so many. And I'm so grateful to get to call you my friend.
Thank you. Aww. This is wonderful. I'm going to have to do more receiving.
You're doing great. So our chat today, as Bret and I were exploring, our interview, because I'm doing a number of these interviews about being you, we started to, I kind of tossed some stuff out, Bret tossed stuff out. And what we were looking at is, I wanted to know what you be with the tools, what tools you use, like when you start to be not you, like the thing that shows up and you're like, what am I being right now? What can you share with us about how you get back to being you?
Yeah. Well, I guess one of the first things, it's like when starting off with that video was like, it's just super amazing for me. Cause, that video was originally part of it was the opening for the first annual International Being You Day. That was May 21st, and it's going to be May 21st for 22nd. Oh yeah. May 21st.
It felt like the 21st to you because you started like weeks before, probably.
Yes. Exactly. Yes, that was like Georgia, my amazing partner that I live with, and we worked for first of all, the whole thing was put together in a month and a half, and this is like 7.5 hours of content and new content and live content with Dr. Dane here, and it was just it's one of those things that was such a joy to be a part of creating, and I am talking about that so much now because that is one of the times where I know that I was being me, that I've been me, is when working with this creation, because I just get all excited and it just gets all fun. I'm like, oh, this, and I can see when you're asking me that question about what kind of tools that I use for when I'm not being me, it's like that the part of the going into the not being me, it's that part just sucks. It just sucks. Because it's like, yeah.
Go ahead. No, well, I was, is it, so if anybody doesn't really have a barometer, right? So if somebody doesn't know, like, well, I'm alive and I call myself Sarah and I'm awake, so I'm being me, right? But what's really cool with the Being You tools is you start to acknowledge the spaciousness of your being. And then when you kind of close that in and have all of the upset and the crunch and all that you're actually in those moments not being you. And so it's like a great, litmus test for when you're being you and when you're not. So
exactly, yeah, because when you're being you, everything is magical. Like everything is there's a possibility to it. There's a sense of space and just like wonder to things where it's like, have you ever like just like gone on a walk and you're just either just walking around your neighborhood or somewhere and like you look around and you're like, wow, oh my gosh, like the trees are so beautiful, the wind feels so good against my skin right now. And then have you also gone on a walk where you're just like, everything sucks and there are people out here and God, my body hurts and
yeah.
I like what you put up there. Like if it sucks, it's not you. Yeah. Yeah, that's a thing. Yeah, totally. That totally is a thing. Thank you, Facebook user.
Yeah, well, the thing is that when you start to explore these Being You tools, which Dane gives in the Being You Changing the World class, hint, there's one coming up starting on Thursday. If you're wanting, Thursday night is the taster. So if you're on this and you're like, I might just want to choose the taster, you can. It's just a few hours with Dane Thursday night. And then there's the whole weekend, which is 3 more days. But when you start to explore the Being You tools and the access to your being, you get it gets way louder when you're not being you. Whereas before, everything just kind of meshes together and it's like, oh, well, I'm having a bad day, but I'm having it's not that you don't have air quotes on bad days. It's that you have the spaciousness to walk through said bad day and create the change with the ease of being you. Do you want to speak a little bit to that?
Yes. Yeah, totally. And you put it so brilliantly there, which is so great because it's just like, it's so great to have you as an interviewer because you whip up this amazing platter and then you're like, you have it on a silver plate and you're like, here, just take it and run with it. I'm like, okay, great. I'll take this amazing like gourmet dish and run with it. Yeah. So now that I did that analogy, I'm totally forgetting the amazing dish that you served up for me to run with.
Well, it's not that you don't have bad days anymore. Yeah. It's that and I'm saying air quote on what a bad day is. That's even, that even changes. Before like the littlest thing would come in and you'd be like, I'm having a bad day now, We're now like those change, but let's say you still have things that happen in your life, but you just have the space of your being to approach those things. So like someone here, Urha, that's a cool name, in the comments says, how do you create and work on projects while being you? What's the difference? And so do you want to speak a little bit to a time when there was crunch, but you had the access to your being, so you created ease? Is that better?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Thank you. Yeah. So it's like with the crunch, and it's so funny to start to address that energy of crunch because everyone knows what crunch is. Yeah, everyone has crunch in their lives. It's like, and a lot of the times how much of the time do we try to spend avoiding the crunch, like avoiding the stuff that is the stuff that we've decided is the bad stuff or the stuff that triggers you, or all of those things. And so I've done that as well, very highly. Up until very recently, I've had some different awarenesses on what goes into creating that. And so it's like growing up, or during the times when you don't have access to these tools or access to your being or access to something different, it's like we kind of do our best to cope with the situations that are given to us. And So we develop these coping mechanisms for how we deal with lives and like with our lives and the things that come up. So it's like if you were like 4 years old and your mom did something that was like not fun or like that was an invalidation of your being, and you're like you find a way to cope with that, or like I know for me, one of the things I've become aware of recently is that I've used my intellect as a defense mechanism, as a coping mechanism, to be like, okay, well, if this person's going to try to get one over on me, I am not going to allow that because I'm going to be mentally quicker than they are. And so I'm starting to see where I've created the walls and barriers to actually being present and vulnerable with people in order to have the intellectual superiority that makes me invulnerable rather than vulnerable. So when you're using like a defense mechanism or a coping mechanism, it's like you're not usually present in that moment when it's going on. It's like if that thing happened when you were 4 and you came up with a coping mechanism that made it okay for you at that time, it's like then you go forward and you're like 40 years old and someone's like you're in a fight with the person you're in a relationship with, and all of a sudden you're acting like that 4-year-old that you were then. It's like that might not create something greater in that situation, but it's what we do. And then but we don't know why we don't like a lot of times we don't know why we're feeling like crap or why we can't seem to create something different, but it's like there's that energy there, and that's the basis of all of this stuff. It's energy. And like if you can look at everything in your life that's heavy or has a sense of heaviness to it, it's like there's a lie there. There's something in there that isn't congruent with you, because you as a being are like, just like, this is going to sound very cheesy, but like light and joy and like just like anything's possible when you're being you. And when you're not, there's that sense of heaviness, and this could be like in life can come out as things kind of like depression or like anxiety, or just knowing that there isn't quite something right, but you can't seem to make a choice in a certain way. And so do you do like clearings on this thing?
You can do whatever the hell you want.
Okay, cool. So if you guys have never heard this before, what I'm about to do is the Access Consciousness Clearing Statement. And it's basically a way for you to make a choice like, hey, I'm changing this. Like whatever this energy is that's going on right now, I'm changing this. I'm acknowledging that I can change this. And Sarah put the clearingstatement.com at the bottom of the screen. So there's a much more lengthy description of the clearingstatement.com if you're one of those intellectually superior types that needs to try to understand everything so no one gets one over on you. You can go to the clearingstatement.com. So how it works is we bring an energy up, or I say something, or when I was talking about those coping mechanisms, you might have noticed that you went to some kind of memories of childhood or memories of something, or an energy came up. So all the coping mechanisms that you have invented at one time or another that doesn't work now, that isn't congruent with you as a being, will you destroy and uncreate all of those times a godzillion? Cool.
Yes.
Right, wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all nine shorts, boys and beyonds.
Well, what you just showed me too is how we might not even recognize, I'll say, our coping mechanisms, because we made them right. It's like the right thing about us, the thing like with the intellectual superiority. It's like, well, that's so right to be. So why would you, when you started to look at your coping mechanisms, you would look at like all the bad things that you do, when you fly off the handle or, whatever that you might choose in situations. and go, let me fix that. But having the awareness and the vulnerability to look at all the way that you cope that's right is also very interesting.
Yes, and that's exactly it, because it's when Georgia and I were having a conversation last night, and she pointed that out to me, that like me using my intelligence like as like to be intellectually superior, and I was like, and then she thought I was like rejecting what she was saying, but like I walked into the bathroom and I was like, I literally was like, it was one of those things like, okay, if I give this up, like I'm pretty sure I'm gonna lose me if I don't have this. Like I'm pretty sure like me is going to be gone. And then I was being with it for a while and being with it for a while, then being with it and being with it. And I was like, oh, wait a second. Will I lose me or will I actually gain me? I was like, oh shit, I'll actually gain me. So it's like, so a lot of those times with those coping mechanisms we decide that they are us. We decide that it gives us protection. It protects us against, bad things or, what someone would do to us. But what it actually does is you actually lose the access to the lightness of you. Because when you come to anything as right or wrong or good or bad, it's like you literally lose sight of everything that doesn't match the rightness or the wrongness or the goodness or the badness of that point of view. Literally nothing. It's like if there are infinite possibilities in the world and you're functioning from rightness, you will only be aware of the possibilities that match that rightness, which is not that many.
So good. Yeah, I was just facilitating a call, and I had a friend on there talking about how he's choosing to move and how he's trying to not like to be in the unknown, and what we were looking at is like, if he didn't have to take this next step as the solid end of, like I'm moving here and now this is where I'll create my life for the next 10 years. Well, if you take the point of view of 10 years, anything that would have you move from that place, or any possibilities that could show up won't actually get into your reality. So the story I told him, I was like, so let's say you're there, you've been there for a week. I was like, you walked, and he's like a performer. He's awesome. And I was like, you go out for a drink. I said, you're barely settled. I said, and someone's going to walk in and offer you the like ideal, the thing that you've always desired as an actor or a model or whatever, and walk up to you at this bar. You go out for a drink, and this guy's going to walk up and invite you to move to New York City, and start all over, but have everything you've been asking for. I said, he won't even go to the bar that night. That guy that was going to give you, he won't, or he will, but he won't see you. He won't start a conversation with you because it won't match what you've decided is now happening because you moved to this new place and starting your life over in this new place. I was like, so we like looking where our point of view creates our reality from right, wrong, good, bad, and what we'll allow in based on our projections of whatever we've decided will be or should be. Exactly.
And that you said, it's like your point of view literally creates your reality. Literally. And actually it does. Because we all have people in our lives who like see everything negatively, and like no matter what goes on, they'll always point out the negative in that. Where it's like, it's like, let's say you go out to a play or something and it's like fantastic and beautiful, and you ask them how it was, like, oh, my seat was uncomfortable. It's their point of view is that things are horrible and that they are right if they can point out the horrible thing. And so that's all they see. They won't see the beauty of life or living because they've decided a thing. And that it's like, I've been looking at this recently too, where it's like when you take a point of view, it's like you put on your like point of view colored glasses, whatever your point of view is. And so it's like, if you see the world as poo, you have your poo glasses on. And it's like, if you see the world from possibilities, then you might not need glasses.
Hey, meme.
Meme, yeah.
So Bret.
Yeah.
Sarah. If we could leave our friends here with a tool. So, we're gonna invite them to the Being You Changing the World class. Again, shameless plug for at the end of this week. You can join that. But let's just say they're like, I don't know yet. I'm going to take a minute, which is fine. What tool could you give them What Being You tool would you like to share today that you ask, or a question or something that you choose to get you to back to you if you've ever strayed into wrongness land?
Yeah. Some of the biggest ones, it's like simply asking really any question. Because when you're functioning from the conclusion of things, it's literally, you can't see anything beyond that conclusion. And sure, it feels great. It feels right at the moment. Like, I am right about this. This is how it is. It's like, if you actually choose to ask a question, like, okay, what else might be possible here? Like, what else is possible? And not from the point of view of what else is possible that'll get me exactly what I want. But it's like, what else is truly possible? What are the gifts the universe would like to give me here that I haven't acknowledged?
I love that. And I love that, like, even when you said, not asking the question to get you more of what, like, you want, it's really from that alone is just from the acknowledgement of, like, what you think is possible is like this big comparatively to what the universe could be creating in any given moment. So it might, I've had so many magical things show up in my life through the greatest shit storms. Like, I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Everything's tipped upside down, sprinkled out, and then stomped on. And I'm like, oh my God. And then the clouds clear and the rainbows come out, and it was exactly what was required for me to make the next choice. And so, but if all I saw was the shit storm, which literally a shit storm is shit flying everywhere, from the sky and around, you know what I mean? You're just like, what the hell is happening? Like, I could have just asked for a reprieve of, like, the shit to turn into something less shitty, rather than the magic and the miracles that were coming right along with the clouds clearing, because that's all I would be able to see as possible. And so even your wildest, greatest fantasy is only an nth, which is not really a word or a measurement of what the universe could be contributing to you in every given moment.
Yeah, exactly. And getting echo.
You awesome. Still sound good to me.
Oh, good.
But let me mute you and then bring you back, because sometimes.
Okay. Hello. Okay, I think that's good. I'm hearing a little bit of echo, but as long as nobody else is hearing echo, that's wonderful. So a lot of times we're, like, trying to do the job of the universe. It's like, your job as a being here is not to figure out and make something show up or make something happen. It's to ask. It's to ask for it to show up. And what if you could ask for it to show up greater than you ever thought or imagined possible? It's kind of like the universe is our assistant, can be our assistant, and can be a massive contribution to creating everything that we're asking for. But a lot of the times we try to take over and be like, I got to make sure this one thing shows up. But when you actually go into the, like, let's say, what if you use the universe as your assistant? So the universe is now your assistant, and for everything that you like to show up in your life, you go, okay, universe, how does it get any better than this? Show me. Like, what else is possible, universe? What would it take for this to show up greater than I ever thought or imagined possible? What can you contribute to that, universe? And I'll do whatever I have to do for, from following the energy and following the lightness of the energy of the ask. And what can be contributed here? What can show up greater than I ever thought or imagined?
I love that. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. And when anything that is like that seems weird or strange or wrong shows up, to ask, okay, what's right about this I'm not getting?
I love that one too.
So I remember when I first found the access tools, and I heard Dane was talking about this question of asking, what would it take for this to show up greater than I ever thought or imagined possible? That I started using that with everything. And I had a really crappy car, and I wanted to go around and facilitate access bars classes. And I couldn't do that with this car that I had. So I asked for it to show up greater than I ever thought or imagined possible. And 5 days later, I'm driving and my car breaks down in the middle of the road. And for a split second, I was like, oh no. And then I was like, wait a second. What's right about this I'm not getting? Oh, I asked for this. It's like this car broke down, and then my parents offered to get me another car to replace that one. And it's like, oh my gosh, the universe worked its magic just by me asking the question. I didn't have to use any force or effort or do anything, and it showed up.
So don't ask anybody. Make sure you don't. It's too easy, which is why a lot of us avoid it and don't choose it, because it seems way too easy. And one of the things I was going to add is that in the money classes, when I do Being You with Money classes, one of the things I've said is, are you willing to have the universe as your investor? So I love that the universe can be your investor. The universe can be your assistant, like whatever you require. I love that.
Amazing.
So Bret, if our listeners and viewers would like to find out more about what you're doing, creating in the world, where can they find you?
They can find me at bretandgeorgia.com. They can find me on Facebook, Bret Rockmore, Instagram, Bret Rockmore. Yeah, I think that's that. Yeah, that's it.
So this will be posted as a podcast interview. Cool. And so on the podcast, I ask everybody the same question at the end, which is the title of the podcast is The Power of Being You. And so I would love to know what you would say was the power of being you if you wrote the show's description.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say the power of being you is that it's like where you never have to make yourself less, where you never have to turn you down, and where you never have to be somebody else in order to make other people happy, in order to make other people comfortable, or in order to fulfill anybody's need, where you just get to be you. And if other people don't like it, oh well, it's like you're going to be you anyway. The world needs more people being them and being who they are, not more people making other people comfortable.
Can you imagine that world? That would be awesome. Thank you so much, my friend. I can't wait to see you this week. And
you.
You know what? Actually, hold on. I'm going to put it on.
Yes. Isn't the intro class that Dane's doing, isn't it called like A Taste of Beyond Reality?
A Taste of Being Beyond This Reality. Yeah. And so if you want more information, you can go to accessconsciousness.com/BU or Dr. Dane here /BU. And you can join you can join the taster class, get a taste, and then ask for seconds and stay for the 3 days. And if it's your first leap into being you, maybe just choose the taster class. And you can also follow Dane on Instagram or even on his Tour of Consciousness on YouTube. And he does really cool tool videos there that, until you're ready to choose a class, there's a lot of free tools there on YouTube. So Bret, I love you. I adore you. I can't wait to see you. And goodbye, everybody. Thank you so much for joining. And what else is possible that you've never considered?
Thank you, Sarah. Thanks, everyone.